Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. I hope you're having a good start to your week as it's the last Monday of March. And if yesterday was any indication, spring is on its way in. Don, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How you doing, Jim?
Cannot complain. Just watching this incredible March Madness has never been more apropos than this year, as we've got the Final Four with a 1 in 125,000 shot of having the teams that are in this Final Four. But how about Dusty May and Florida Atlantic?
Well, I am so excited for Dusty. He and I have been good friends for a long, long time. He was a manager under Bob Knight, a graduate assistant under Mike Davis at Indiana, went on to Louisiana Tech as an assistant coach, went to Florida with Mike White as an assistant coach. Then he became the head coach at Florida Atlantic, and this is his fifth season. And he has built a program there that is just remarkable in the sense of what they've been able to accomplish over the last several years now. And finally, his team makes it to the NCAA tournament. And not only do they make it to the tournament, they make it to the Final Four. And probably, I would wonder if anybody in the history of Florida Atlantic bet on them to make it to the Final Four, much less have a chance at a national championship.
I wish I would have had money on them at the start of the season, brother. I tell you what, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you, Don. I'd be on a beach somewhere.
I understand.
And the thing about this is we talk about Miami's also in it, and we kind of look at them as the NIL king, although they didn't really they only brought in Nigel Pack. But you look at a school like Florida Atlantic, there's no NIL guys there. There's no big guys that have been brought in.
That's
so
right.
When it comes down to it, it's just having good players that want to play, that will play, that are well coached, period.
The buy-in has to be terrific no matter what level you're at. And Florida Atlantic is a small school, mid-major. And again, it boils down to players wanting to be a part of something. You don't have to have the greatest talented players in the world. You do have to have athletes these days. There's no question about that. And Dusty has gotten these guys to buy in. And we talked earlier this season when they started talking about that team, probably midway through the year. I think they were at one point 19-1 or something like that. Dusty and I talked about it, and I said, the one thing what's the one thing that you look at with your basketball team that is simply the most important factor? And he said, our guys play with passion. He said, and it struck me because today at Indiana, do you see the same passion played with that we saw or that we see from a team like Florida Atlantic? I mean, those guys play their guts out. They play so hard and they play so well together. There's nobody that's an I guy on that team. You can see it. They just absolutely do a tremendous job of playing together. Number one, their chemistry is phenomenal, and they play with a passion. They want to win for that school and for that program and for that coach. And that's what I see that. And I'm not saying it's missing from every program. I see a lot of these teams that look very much the same way. They're really playing for their school and for their coach and that type of thing. They've got the buy-in, so to speak. Do we have it at Indiana? I think we have some of it. We don't have all of it right now.
I agree, Don. Before you came on, I talked about that. I talked about you just have to have players that want to play, that are willing to do all the things that it takes to win. And those are not all fun things. Those sometimes it's whether it's putting more time in the gym, whatever the case is. You just don't have a bench full of those, and you can tell that by the production. And there's just body language. There were so many things toward the end of the season that really kind of spoke. It spoke. You didn't need words, and you could see it. So Indiana's going to have there's going to be a major change, which only one player has hit the portal so far, Logan Duncombe. I am kind of expecting two more to do that, and that would bring the total number to 6. I'm expecting 6 new faces. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I'm thinking 6 new faces. Indiana has got to get some athletes. They have got to get guys that want to play for where they are and who they're playing for.
Exactly. I mean, the one thing that to me is still missing at IU at this point is that the passion to play, no matter what your role is. When you come on the floor, if your role is to be a cheerleader on the bench, I don't care what your role is, you have to accept it and really embrace it. And unfortunately, I don't think we see that from some of the players on this Indiana basketball team. And is it all about you or is it about the team? When guys buy into the team concept, you usually have a pretty good basketball team and a team that will compete and battle every time they walk out on the floor. If you've got guys more worried about NBA and going to the NBA and my playing time and all that kind of stuff, and I get that. I mean, everybody wants to play. But you came to that school for a reason, and hopefully that reason was to be a part of something special and to build something special. And if that's the reason you came, that is the right reason. If you came because this is just the stopping off point for the NBA, or you came because you thought you could get a lot of playing time and you're not getting it now, and now you're upset, those are the wrong reasons to be there. It's just that simple.
Don, do you see just maybe just a little too much entitlement with some players, even though there's been no real conference or national presence, there's still the entitlement of being an Indiana player without doing the things that it requires to be an Indiana player?
I don't know if it's entitlement. I think the athletes today, the players today, I think every player that plays has played all this AAU ball and all that kind of stuff. I think because of that, some guys just aren't as coachable as other guys. They think because they were able to score 15 points a ball game in an AAU with an AAU team, that now all of a sudden that should be exactly what is expected and what they should be able to do as a college basketball player. That's not always the case. I mean, your role may change. Your coach may see you as a guy that's a problem in the sense of not working as hard as he needs to at the defensive end of the floor. There's reasons why coaches won't play you. If you're that good, there's a reason why your coach is not putting you on the floor. It may be because you don't buy into the defensive side of it, that you still have lots to learn in the sense of what you need to do offensively. The buy-in is the big key. With every player that you get on your roster, there has to be a buy-in. And if there's not, now you've got a chink in the armor.
Yeah, Andrew says San Diego State, FAU, and Miami all have the lean and hungry look about them, and UConn as well. UConn has looked great throughout this tournament.
Yeah,
I'm fortunate to see them in New York. I thought Texas was going to be the team to win it. I'm looking here at pictures of Florida Atlantic, just a picture of, and you can see in their gym. First of all, they've got the first section of like 10 rows of bleachers are pushed back, and then there's nobody in the upper sections. So this is a team that probably plays in front of nobody during the season.
Well, their arena seats 2,900. So just so you know,
smaller than virtually every high school in Indiana.
Exactly. I mean, literally, if they get 3,000 in there, the fire marshal's on their rear end. I mean, it's that kind of a facility, and yet look what they've accomplished. It's got nothing to do with the arena. It's got nothing to do with any of the things that we think about are so important, facilities, all that kind of stuff. This is about guys wanting to play basketball because they love the game, they love to be a part of something special, and there's no question that's what's happened at Florida Atlantic under Dusty May.
Now, John L. Davis is from Gary, Indiana. Wasn't his dad recruited by Bob Knight or something?
I can't answer that question. I don't know his background. I know he's
from Gary. He's from Gary, and I
right.
think that I think that his dad was recruited by Indiana. I want to say there was something. I remember that from a time back, but he's just done a great job of finding guys and putting them in the right place, the right pieces in the right place, and that's the key to winning any game. Whether you're talking about chess or basketball. You've got to have the right pieces at the right place.
Well, there's no question they have had a phenomenal run. San Diego State, the team that they're about to play, is a 5th seed. They're a 9 seed. Miami's a 5th seed. UConn is a 4 seed. They're the highest seed that's left. And like you, I was very impressed with what I saw from UConn and when we saw them out in Albany, New York, in their ball games out there. This is a team that's going to be tough to deal with. Their big inside is really special. I can't think of his name now off the top of my head, but he is a very, very talented big guy inside. He can go outside and shoot the 3. He doesn't do it very often, but he's capable of doing it. We watched him practice, and he's done it a couple of times in games thus far. But they're a very talented ball club. Dan Hurley's done, obviously, a great job with that program. That's a team to contend with. Miami, of course, we saw them up close and personal. I'm really impressed with what they're able to do. I thought Texas would beat them yesterday.
Me too.
The reason they didn't, in my opinion, was because Dessou, who was their big, who has really come on here in the last 10 ball games or so of the season for Texas, was not available. He got hurt and did not play in the last 2 ball games. And of course, in this ball game against Miami yesterday, Miami took advantage of that. I thought his unavailability to the team really hurt Texas. But at the same time, Texas could have won it. Miami could have won it. Miami did win it. And San Diego State's a heck of a defensive team. They are physical. We talk about the Big Ten being a physical conference. That San Diego State team is as physical as any team I've seen play this year, period. And they play hard at the defensive end. It tells you what you need.
They look like a bunch of defensive ends.
Right. I mean, it tells you what you have to get to be competitive. And like I say, Florida Atlantic, just a bunch of great young athletes that play so hard and smart. They do what their coach asks them to do. I don't know if you've watched Dusty on the sideline much, but he looks like he just is in control. He knows exactly what he's supposed to have out there.
Very calm.
And they buy into everything that he says. You just love the way they play. He doesn't overcoach in any way, shape, or form. It's just fun to watch. It really is.
It really is. I don't want to make this comparison, but it's like if you were watching Bob Knight, because he was always thinking, because he was a very smart guy. And Dusty took a lot of that away with and able to weed certain things out, and just use the things that he needs. And he seems like he is doing just that, and that he is using a lot of tools that he has learned throughout the years to get his players, to keep them calm, to keep them relaxed, because he's relaxed, as you pointed out. And for him and that program to be where they are and to be able to still do it with that poise, that's amazing in and of itself.
Well, Mike Davis hired Dusty as a graduate assistant and helped grooming him along the way as well. And Mike Davis played Dusty's team earlier this year. Mike is at Detroit Mercy, of course, with Antoine, his son, who's the second greatest scorer in college basketball history, which just tells you something about Antoine Davis and how good he was, even though he plays at a smaller school. But all that said, after that ball game, Dusty had Mike come in and talk to his team and talk to him about what he thought of them. And he said, "You guys are a top 5 team in the country." He said, "People may not believe that because I'm saying it, but he says, you're a top 5 team in the country. Now play like that the rest of the year." And I'm telling you, there's no question that that's what they did. They played that way. I give Dusty all the credit in the world, but Dusty is a smart guy. He learned from a lot of different people. Mike White, who was at Louisiana Tech in Florida, that was the head coach that he followed there, taught him a lot as well. He's taken his lessons and he's put them together, and man, is he having success. And obviously it might turn into something even better than Florida Atlantic, even though I'm sure it'd be tough for him to leave.
That was my next question, because it's just the life. They're going to be coming after him left and right, not only because of his success, but how he got there. And you know, there's schools going, well, if he was able to do that without any resources, well, we give him some resources. You know, Penn State's in trouble because Penn State and everybody kind of knows it's a way over, and it's a tough way over. I mean, what's it? Oh, daggone, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but just left to go to
Micah Shrewsbury.
Micah Shrewsbury he got out at the perfect time, and it worked great for him. But that's a tough place to go. I don't know that even though it's the Big Ten, that's a tough one.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, here's the thing about Penn State, and Micah did stir up some excitement at Penn State with the 2 years that he spent there. I thought he did a magnificent job of getting guys to buy in and deal with what he was trying to preach out there. And I thought he did a great job in that regard. But of course, he jumped ship right away after 2 seasons to go to Notre Dame, which they came after him, and he was ready to go. I would think that Notre Dame was always a calling card for him because he was a Cathedral High School graduate out of Indianapolis. I'm sure he grew up loving Notre Dame and that kind of thing. And of course, he went to Hanover. That's where he played basketball. But he had great tutelage from Brad Stevens and Matt Painter, and then at the pro level and all these kinds of things. So to me, that was probably the move that we were going to expect out of him once he had success. And he did make that move without doubt. Now that job's open, and who they get next. And I know Pat Kraft really well, and there's a couple of people that I know he's interested in regard, and Dusty is probably one of them because of what he's been able to accomplish.
Do they know each other already because of Pat's IU affiliation?
Yes.
Pat Kraft is the athletics director at Penn State, a former football player at IU, right?
He was a football player under IU under Bill Mallory, and Pat's a great guy and a really good AD. He's had success every place he's been. He'll find the right guy to fit Penn State's program, no question.